Dr. Han Myra wiped sweat from her forehead as she looked at the ancient ruins before her. The planet Kepler 442b had been dead for over 1,000 years, but something about this place made her skin crawl. The broken stone towers reached toward the gray sky like fingers of some giant buried creature. "Dr. Han, we should head back to the ship," said Lieutenant Nam Ki-wan, his voice crackling through the communication device. "This place gives me bad feelings." Myra shook her head and adjusted her equipment pack. "We came here to find proof of alien life. These ruins might hold answers we have been looking for." Behind her, Engineer Lee Ji-ho was scanning the area with his handheld device. The young man looked nervous as he read the numbers on his screen. "Energy readings are strange here, Doctor. It's almost like something is still alive down there." "Alive?" Commander Park Taemin's voice cut through their conversation. The security chief had been watching them from higher ground, his weapon ready. "What kind of alive?" Ji-ho looked at his scanner again. "I cannot tell. The readings keep changing." "Whatever. It has been sleeping for a very long time." Mira felt her heart race with excitement. This was exactly what they had hoped to find. For months, her research team had been following old stories about this planet. Ancient space travelers had whispered about a world where something powerful once lived. Most scientists thought these were just fairy tales, but Mira believed there was truth behind every legend. "Show me where the strongest readings are coming from," she said to Ji-ho. The young engineer pointed toward a large opening in the ground. It looked like a cave, but the edges were too smooth to be natural. "Down there, Doctor, about 50 meters below the surface." Taemin walked over to them, his boots crunching on the dry ground. "I do not like this. We should call the ship and ask for more people." "We have everything we need," Mira replied. "Besides, if we wait too long, someone else might get here first." The commander looked at the dark opening and shook his head. "Dr. Han, I am responsible for keeping this team safe. If something dangerous is down there, then we will be careful," Mira said, cutting him off. "But we are not leaving without investigating." Dr. Kim Yuna, who had been quietly studying some broken stone tablets, finally spoke up. "Mira, these symbols are unlike anything I have seen before. They look like warnings." Mira walked over to her friend and looked at the carved stones. Yuna was right. The symbols did look like warnings, but they also looked like something else. They might be warnings, but they could also be instructions. "Look at this pattern here." She pointed to a series of carved lines that seemed to spiral down into the ground. "This looks like it is showing us a path." "Path to what?" Taemin asked. "Only one way to find out," Mira said, putting on her headlamp. The team spent the next hour preparing their equipment. They had ropes, lights, scanning devices, and emergency supplies. Mira also brought her collection kit, hoping to find samples of alien technology or biological material as they descended into the cave. The air grew colder and more humid. The walls were covered with the same smooth stone they had seen above, but here it seemed to glow faintly in the light of their lamps. "These walls are not natural," Ji-ho said, running his hand along the surface. "They feel almost alive." "Alive how?" Yuna asked. "Warm, like they have blood flowing through them." Mira felt the wall herself. Ji-ho was right. The stone was warm to the touch, and she could swear she felt a faint pulse beneath her fingers. They continued deeper into the cave system, following the spiral path shown in the surface carvings. The deeper they went, the stronger the energy. Readings became Ji-ho's scanner was beeping constantly now. "We are close to something big," he whispered. After what felt like hours of walking, they reached a large chamber. Mira shone her light around the space and gasped. The room was huge, with a ceiling so high their lights could not reach it. But what made her heart stop was what sat in the center of the chamber. It was a cocoon, but not like any cocoon she had ever seen. It was made of what looked like crystal, but the crystal seemed to pulse with its own light. Inside the transparent shell, she could see the outline of something large and complex. "What is that thing?" Ki-wan asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Approached the cocoon slowly. It was about the size of a small transport ship, and the creature inside was unlike anything in her textbooks. It had organic parts that looked like muscle and bone, but it also had metallic components that seemed to be part of its natural structure. "It is beautiful," she breathed. "It is huge," Taman said, keeping his weapon ready. "And we do not know if it is dangerous." Mira walked around the cocoon, studying it from every angle. The creature inside seemed to be sleeping peacefully. Its chest rose and fell in a slow, steady rhythm. "Look at this," Yuna called from the other side of the chamber. She was standing next to a wall covered in more carvings. "These symbols are different from the ones outside. They look like a story." Mira joined her friend at the wall. The carvings seemed to show a great battle between different types of creatures. Some looked like the being in the cocoon, while others were dark and twisted shapes that seemed to devour everything around them. "This might be a history," Mira said, tracing the symbols with her finger. "A record of what happened here. Or a warning about what might happen again," Taman said grimly. As Mira continued to study the wall, something strange happened. The cocoon behind them began to glow brighter. The light pulsed in a steady rhythm, almost like a heartbeat. Jiho said urgently. The energy readings just increased by 300%. Mira turned to look at the cocoon. The creature inside seemed to be stirring, its head turning slightly toward their group. "It knows we are here," she said softly. "That is exactly what I was afraid of," Taman replied, raising his weapon. "Wait," Mira said, holding up her hand. "Look at the light patterns. They are not random. It is trying to communicate." The cocoon pulsed with soft, warm light. The patterns reminded Mira of stars twinkling in the night sky. Despite the alien nature of the creature, she felt no fear. Instead, she felt something she had never experienced before, a sense of recognition, as if she was looking at a long-lost friend. "We need to take it back to the station," she said suddenly. "Absolutely not," Taman said firmly. "We have no idea what that thing is capable of." "It is not a thing," Mira said, still watching the pulsing lights. "It is a someone. And I think it has been waiting for us." The creature in the cocoon seemed to respond to her words, its light patterns becoming more complex and beautiful. Mira felt tears forming in her eyes, though she could not explain why. "We are taking it home," she said with determination that surprised everyone, including herself. The discovery that would change everything had finally been made. 3 weeks had passed since the team brought the crystalline cocoon to Research Station Aurora. The creature inside had been placed in the largest containment unit in the science bay. But Dr. Han Mira spent every waking moment there watching and studying it. "Mira, you need to eat something," Dr. Kim Yuna said, entering the lab with a tray of food. "When was the last time you had a proper meal?" Ira did not look away from the cocoon. "I ate yesterday, or maybe it was the day before." She made notes on her tablet as she spoke. "Look at this, Yuna. The light patterns are getting more complex every day." Yuna set the food tray down and walked over to her friend. The cocoon was indeed glowing brighter than when they first discovered it. The creature inside seemed more active, occasionally moving its limbs in what looked like sleep movements. "Have you given it a name yet?" Yuna asked. Baal Mira said softly. "It means star. Look how it shines." Yuna frowned. "Mira, you were talking about it like it is a pet. We do not know what this thing is or where it came from." "Not a thing," Mira corrected. "And I think I am beginning to understand where it came from." She showed Yuna her research notes. Pages and pages of observations, drawings, and theories filled the screen. The metal components in its body are not artificial. They grew naturally like bones or organs. This creature is a perfect combination of organic life and advanced technology. "That is impossible," Yuna said. "Not impossible. Just beyond our current understanding." Mira touched the glass of the containment unit. "I think its species was incredibly advanced. They found a way to merge biology with technology in ways we cannot even imagine." The creature stirred at Mira's touch, its bioluminescent patterns shifting to a warmer, golden color. Yuna noticed how it seemed to respond specifically to Mira's presence. "It only does that when you are here," Yuna observed. "I know. We have some kind of connection." "Mira, listen to yourself. You are talking about this creature like it is family." Mira paused in her note-taking. "Maybe it is," Dr. Yuna felt a chill run down her spine. What do you mean? Maybe family's not just about blood and genetics. Maybe it is about understanding and acceptance. Mira pressed her palm against the containment glass. When I look at Bile, I feel like I am looking at someone who has been alone for a very long time. Someone who needs care and protection. The creature's lights pulsed in response, creating beautiful patterns that looked almost like written language, Yuna had to admit. It was mesmerizing, but she was worried about her friend's mental state. Dr. Han, step away from the containment unit. Both women turned to see Commander Park Taemin entering the lab with Lieutenant Nam Ki-wan. The security chief looked stern and concerned. Commander, I am conducting important research, Myra said. Research that is affecting your judgment, Taemin replied. The crew is getting worried about your behavior. You have been in this lab for 18 hours straight. The creature is showing signs of increased activity. This is a critical time for observation. The creature is showing signs of increased activity because you keep disturbing it, Taemin said firmly. Dr. Kim, please escort Dr. Han to her quarters. She needs rest. I am not leaving Bael, Mira said, moving to stand between the commander and the containment unit, Bael. Taemin raised an eyebrow. You named it him, and yes, I named him. He deserves a name. Yuna gently touched her friend's arm. Amira. The commander is right. You need to rest. The creature will be fine for a few hours? No, you do not understand. He's trying to communicate with me. The light patterns are not random. They mean something. Taemin exchanged a worried look with Yuna. Dr. Han, what exactly do you think this creature is trying to tell you? Mira turned back to the cocoon, her eyes bright with excitement. I think he is trying to tell me about his people, about what happened to them, about why he was sleeping for so long. And you understand this how I feel it, when I am close? To him, I get images in my mind, flashes of memories that are not mine. Taemin stepped closer, his hand moving to his weapon. Dr. Han, that creature might be affecting your mind. It could be dangerous. He is not dangerous, Myra said firmly. He is scared and alone. He has been sleeping for 1,000 years, and now he is waking up in a strange place with strange people. How do you know it has been sleeping for 1,000 years? Yuna asked. Because I saw it, in the visions. His people were dying. Some terrible enemy was destroying everything they had built. So they put their guardians to sleep, hoping that someday someone would find them and wake them up. Taemin was now genuinely concerned. Dr. Han, you need to report to the medical bay immediately. Dr. Bay needs to examine you. I am not sick, Mira said, backing closer to the containment unit. I am the only one who can understand him. Creature's lights suddenly flared brighter, and the patterns became more urgent. Mira gasped and pressed both hands against the glass. He is trying to warn us about something, she said urgently. Something bad is coming. That is enough, Taemin said, signaling to Ki-wan. Remove Dr. Han from this lab immediately. Wait, Yuna said, studying the creature's behavior. Look at the patterns. They do seem different now, more agitated. The laboratory's emergency sensors suddenly activated. Red lights flashed as the ship's computer announced, unknown energy signature detected. All personnel report to stations. Engineer. Li Ji-ho rushed into the lab, his scanner beeping frantically. Commander, we are detecting massive energy fluctuations from the containment unit. Everyone looked at the cocoon. The creature inside was moving more actively now, its body glowing with intense light. The metal components of its form were beginning to shift and change. It is responding to something, Mira said. Something that frightens it. Or something it is calling to, Taemin said grimly. The ship's communication system crackled to life. This is Captain Choi Sung. We have multiple unknown contacts approaching the system. Departments prepare for possible hostile encounter. Myra looked at the others with wide eyes. This is what he was trying to warn us about. Something followed us here. The creature in the cocoon was now fully awake, its eyes opening for the first time since they had found it. They were large and intelligent, filled with an ancient sadness that made Mira's heart ache. Hello, Bile, she whispered. The creature looked directly at her, and for a moment, Myra felt a connection so strong it took her breath away. Images flooded her mind, star systems being consumed by darkness, peaceful worlds turning to ash, and creatures like Beale fighting desperately against an enemy that devoured everything in its path. "They are coming," she said, her voice barely audible, "and the ones who destroyed his people. They are coming here." Taman grabbed his communication device. "All security teams to battle stations. This is not a drill." The creature's lights pulsed once more, and Mira understood the message clearly. They were no longer safe. The enemy had found them, and the real battle was about to begin. But as she looked into Bile's ancient eyes, she felt something else: hope. For the first time in 1,000 years, he was not alone. He had found someone who understood him, someone who would fight beside him. Mira pressed her hand against the glass one more time. "We are family now," she whispered, "and family protects each other." The creature's response was a warm, golden light that filled the entire laboratory. Whatever was coming, they would face it together. The alarm systems of Research Station Aurora screamed through the corridors as Dr. Han Myra stood before the containment unit. The creature she called Bile was fully awake now, its eyes glowing with urgent light patterns that seemed to pulse in rhythm with her heartbeat. "Dr. Han, we need to evacuate the science bay," Commander Park Temin said, his voice tight with stress. "Whatever those ships are out there, they are not responding to our communications." Mira did not move from her position. "He is trying to tell me something important. The light patterns are more complex than ever before." Dr. Kim Yuna grabbed her friend's arm. "Mira, we need to go. The captain has ordered all non-essential personnel to the safe areas." "This is essential," Mira said, pressing her hands against the glass. "He knows what those ships are. He has seen them before." Ow. Creature's lights suddenly flared brighter, and the patterns changed to show what looked like a star map. Mira gasped as images flooded her mind. Not the brief flashes she had experienced before, but clear, detailed visions that felt like memories. She saw a beautiful world filled with crystal cities and peaceful beings who looked similar to Bile. They were called the Builders, and they had created wonders beyond imagination. But then came the darkness. Ships that looked exactly like the ones approaching their system now. "The Devourers," Mira whispered, the alien word forming in her mind. "They are called the Devourers." "What are you talking about?" Mira demanded. Mira turned to face the others, her eyes wide with terror and understanding. His people called them the Devourers. They consume entire worlds, turning everything into part of their fleet. They destroyed his civilization over 1,000 years ago. "How do you know this?" Dr. Yuna asked. "He is showing me." Through our connection, Mira looked back at the creature. "His name's not Bile, it is Siangwa. He is not just a creature, he is a guardian. His people created him to protect younger species from the Devourers." Lieutenant Nam Kiwan shook his head. "That is impossible. You are making this up." "I am not making anything up," Mira said firmly. "Suyangwa chose to connect with me because humans remind him of his creators.
Ow.
The Builders. We're peaceful, curious, and protective of other life forms. Just like us." The ship shuddered as something massive passed close by. Through the laboratory's viewports, they could see dark shapes moving against the stars. Ships that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "Even if what you are saying is true," Taman said, "how does that help us now?" Myra felt another wave of images from Siangwa. She saw the Guardian's true form, not the sleeping creature in the cocoon, but a massive biomechanical warrior capable of incredible destruction. But she also saw something else, the loneliness and pain of being the last of his kind. "He has been sleeping because he was waiting," she said, "waiting for a species worthy of his protection. He chose humanity." "Chose us for what?" Yuna asked. "To be the new guardians of the galaxy. To continue what his people started." Dr. Bei Hanna entered the laboratory, her medical scanner in hand. "Dr. Han, I need to examine you immediately. The crew is reporting that you have been acting strangely for weeks." "I am fine," Myra said, not taking her eyes off Sunhwa. "Better than fine. I am finally understanding my purpose." "Your purpose is to be a xenobiologist, not to commune with alien creatures," Bei said sternly. "This thing is clearly affecting your mind. Xianghua is not a thing, Mira said, her voice growing angry. He is a person, a guardian who has sacrificed everything to protect life in the galaxy. The creature's lights pulsed in response to her emotions, and suddenly the containment unit began to crack. Hair-thin fractures appeared in the crystal shell, spreading outward like a spider web. It is breaking out, Kiwan said, raising his weapon. Do not shoot, Mira said, stepping between the soldier and the containment unit. He is not trying to escape. He is trying to protect us. The cracks in the cocoon spread wider, and a strange metallic substance began to seep out. But instead of pooling on the floor, the substance moved with purpose, flowing along the walls and ceiling of the laboratory. What is that stuff? Jiho asked, his scanner beeping frantically. Part of him, Mira said, watching in fascination as the metallic substance formed patterns along the walls. He is integrating with the ship's systems. Integrating how? Taman demanded. Mira felt another surge of information from Xianghua. He is preparing defenses. The Devourers are almost here, and our weapons will not be enough to stop them. So this creature is taking over our ship? Bei asked. He is trying to save us, Mira said. But you all think he is dangerous because you do not understand him? Argument was interrupted by Captain Choi Song's voice over the communication system. All hands, we have confirmed hostile intent from the approaching vessels. They are not responding to any communication attempts and are moving in attack formation. Xianghua's lights flashed urgently, and Mira felt a wave of desperation from the Guardian. Through their connection, she saw what the Devourers would do to the station, consume everyone, board and add their biological material to the enemy fleet. He is begging us to let him help, she said, tears streaming down her face. He does not want to watch another species be destroyed. Even if that is true, Taman said, how do we know we can trust him? Mira looked at the commander with determination. Because he could have broken free at any time, could have taken control of the ship weeks ago. But he waited for us to accept him. The metallic substance had now spread throughout the laboratory, forming complex patterns that looked almost like circuit boards. The room's lighting changed to match Xianghua's bioluminescent patterns, and the air itself seemed to hum with energy. Ship's systems are being enhanced, Jiho reported, staring at his scanner in amazement. Energy output is up 400%, and I am reading weapon signatures that should not be possible. See, Mira said, he is not taking over.
He is
upgrading us. Dr. Bei stepped forward with her medical scanner. Dr. Han, I need to check if this creature has implanted anything in your brain. Your behavior is not normal. My behavior is perfectly normal for someone who has made contact with an ancient guardian, Mira said. This is the greatest discovery in human history, and you all want to destroy it? We want to protect ourselves, Taman said. And so does he, Mira replied. That is why he was created. That is his entire purpose. The cocoon finally shattered completely, and Suanhua stepped out. He was beautiful and terrible at the same time, a being of living metal and organic tissue that towered over them all. His eyes glowed with the same gentle light Myra had grown to love, but his form was clearly designed for war. Hello, Xianghua, Mira said softly. The Guardian looked down at her, and for the first time he spoke not with words, but directly into her mind. His voice was warm and sad, like a father greeting a daughter he had not seen for years. Hello, little Guardian, he said. Thank you for waking me. Thank you for believing in me. You are welcome, Mira whispered. The others watched in shock as the massive creature knelt down to Mira's level, his metal hand gently touching her face. The gesture was so human, so filled with affection that even Taman lowered his weapon. Our family now, Xianghua's voice echoed in all their minds, and family protects each other. The ship shuddered again as the Devourer fleet drew closer. Through the viewports, they could see dozens of dark ships, each one the size of a small moon. Are you ready to fight? Mira asked. I've been ready. For 1,000 years, Xianghua replied. But this time, I will not fight alone. The Guardian's form began to change, spreading throughout the ship like living armor. The battle for humanity's survival was about to begin. They finally had a champion who understood what they were truly fighting for. Let them come, Mira said, her hand still touching Xiangwa's metallic skin. We are ready. The massive view screen in Research Station Aurora's command center showed a sight that made everyone's blood run cold. Dozens of dark ships moved through space like hungry predators, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built. Did not reflect light like normal ships. Instead, they seemed to swallow it. Creating holes in the starfield, Captain Choi Sung stood at the center of the command bridge, his face pale but determined. How many ships are we looking at? He asked his navigation officer. 43 confirmed contacts, sir, researcher O'Doyan replied from his station. But the number keeps growing. It is like they are multiplying. Dr. Hanmyra entered the command center with Xiangwa walking beside her. The Guardian's metallic form had changed again, becoming more compact so he could move through the ship's corridors. His presence made the crew nervous, but Mira stayed close to him, her hand resting on his arm. They are not multiplying, she said. They are growing. Every piece of matter they consume becomes part of their fleet. Commander Park Taemin looked at the alien Guardian with suspicion. How do we know you are not leading them here? Xiangwa's lights pulsed with what Myra recognized as sadness. I have spent 1,000 years hiding from them. They found me because I finally woke up. My energy signature called to them across the galaxy. So this is your fault, Lieutenant Nam Ki-wan said angrily. No, Myra said firmly. This is their fault. The Devourers destroy everything they touch. Xianghua has been trying to stop them for longer than our entire civilization has existed. Captain Choi studied the approaching fleet on his screen. What exactly are these Devourers? What do they want? Through her connection with Xianghua, Mira felt the Guardian's memories of his first encounter with the enemy. They are not really alive, not like us. They are more like a disease that spreads from world to world. They consume all organic matter and convert it into more ships, more weapons, more of themselves, like a virus, Dr. Kim Yuna said quietly. A virus that eats planets, Mira confirmed. Engineer Lee Ji-ho was monitoring the ship's systems when he noticed something strange. Captain, our power levels are increasing beyond normal parameters. All systems are showing improvements I cannot explain. It is Su Yanga's doing, Mira said. He is upgrading our technology to give us a fighting chance. On the view screen, they watched as the Devourer fleet reached the outer edge of the solar system. The first thing they encountered was a small asteroid belt. Within minutes, the rocks were gone, consumed by the dark ships which grew noticeably larger. They are feeding, Sejongwa said, his voice echoing in everyone's minds. Soon they will be strong enough to attack the inner planets. How long do we have? Captain Choi asked. 6 hours, maybe less, the Guardian replied. They will consume the outer planets first, then move toward the populated worlds. The communication officer looked up from her station. Captain, we are receiving distress signals from the mining colonies on Titan. They are requesting immediate evacuation. Send word to all civilian ships in the system, Choi ordered. Full evacuation of all outer colonies. Everyone moves to the inner planets now. Dr. Bei Hanna, who had been quietly observing Xianghua, finally spoke up. Even if we evacuate everyone, what happens when those things reach Earth? Our weapons cannot stop ships that size. Our current weapons cannot, Mira said. But Xianghua has been preparing upgrades. She led them to the science bay where the Guardian had been working. The entire room had been transformed. What used to be simple human technology was now covered in the same metallic substance that made up part of Xianghua's body. Screens showed weapon designs that looked far beyond anything humanity had ever imagined. He has been sharing his knowledge with our systems, Mira explained, creating defenses that can actually hurt the Devourers. Ji-ho stared at the displays in amazement. These energy weapon designs are incredible, but they would require power. Sources we do not have. We do have them now, Xianghua said. I have integrated my bioenergy cores with your fusion reactors. The station can now generate enough power to operate builder-level weapons. Builder level? Taemin asked. The technology of my creators, the Guardian explained. The only weapons that were ever effective against the Devourers. Captain Choi studied the weapon schematics. How long will it take to complete these upgrades? They are already complete, Xianghua said. I have been working on them since I first woke up. I just needed time to integrate everything safely. As if to prove his point, the ship's lights dimmed for a moment, then blazed brighter than ever. Before, the hum of the engines changed to a deeper, more powerful sound. Weapon systems online, the tactical officer reported, his voice filled with awe. We have energy cannon capabilities that are off the charts. Shields are also enhanced, added another crew member. Protection levels are 20 times stronger than before. Dr. Yuna looked worried. This is all very impressive, but we are still just one ship. How can we fight an entire fleet? We cannot, Xianghua admitted. But we can protect the evacuation ships and buy time for the human military to prepare. The view screen showed a horrifying sight. The Devourer fleet had reached Saturn, and they were systematically consuming the planet's moons. Devoured made their ships larger and more powerful. Look at them grow, O'Doyen said in horror. They are getting stronger with every meal. That is how they conquered the galaxy, Xianghua said. They start small, but every world they consume makes them more dangerous. Mira felt a wave of determination through their connection. But you stopped them before. Your people found a way. To defeat them, my people sacrificed everything to contain them, Xianghua corrected. We put the Devourers to sleep, but we could not destroy them permanently. Eventually, they always wake up. Then we will put them to sleep again, Mira said firmly. It is not that simple, the Guardian replied. The weapon that stopped them before required the life force of an entire civilization. My people willingly gave their lives to power it. Command Center fell silent as the implications sank in. Captain Choi was the first to speak. Are you saying we would need to sacrifice our entire species to stop them? That is how it was done before, Xianghua said sadly. But perhaps there is another way. Humans are different from my creators. You have something they did not. What? Mira asked. You have me, Sunjo said. I am the last Guardian, and I have been storing energy for 1,000 years. Combined with human courage and creativity, we might find a solution that does not require such sacrifice. The ship shuddered as the Devourer fleet changed course, moving directly toward their position. On the screen, they could see the lead ships beginning to accelerate. They have detected us, Taman said. Good, Xianghua replied. Let them come. It is time to show them that the Guardians are not extinct. Out. The station's new weapon systems came online with a sound like thunder. Energy patterns that looked like lightning danced across the hull as Xianghua's biotechnology merged completely. With human engineering, it's all hands to battle stations, Captain Choi announced. This is what we trained for. Mira looked at Xianghua, feeling his ancient determination flowing through their bond. Are you ready? I have been ready for 1,000 years, the Guardian replied. But this time, I will not fight alone. The Devourer fleet was only an hour away now, and the real battle was about to begin. But for the first time since waking up, Xianghua felt something he had not experienced in centuries' hope. He had found worthy successors to his creators, and together they would face the darkness that threatened all life in the galaxy. The last Guardian and humanity would stand together, no matter what came next. The Devourer fleet moved through space like a plague of metal locusts, leaving nothing but empty void where planets used to be. Jupiter was gone, consumed in less than an hour. Its massive form had been broken down and absorbed by the dark ships, making them even larger and more terrible. Research Station Aurora hung in space between the advancing enemy and the inner planets, looking impossibly small compared to the approaching darkness. But the station was no longer just human technology. It pulsed with alien energy, its hull covered in patterns of living metal that shifted and moved like breathing skin. Evacuation ships are clear of the danger zone, reported communication. Officer Park Minhai from the bridge. All civilian vessels have jumped to hyperspace. Captain Choi Sung nodded grimly. Good, at least we saved some lives today. Dr. Han Myra stood beside Xianghua in the command center, her hand resting on the Guardian's metallic arm. Through their connection, she could feel his ancient sadness mixed with fierce determination. How many of your people died fighting these things? She asked quietly. All of them, Xianghua replied. But their sacrifice was not meaningless. They gave me the power to continue the fight. Commander Park Taman studied the tactical display. The lead ships will be in weapons range in 10 minutes. Are our new defenses ready? More than ready, Xianghua said. The Guardian's form began to change, expanding and flowing throughout the ship like liquid metal. I am integrating fully with your systems. This station is now as much a part of me as my original body. Engineer Li Juho watched in amazement as his control panels transformed before his eyes. Human switches and buttons were replaced by surfaces that responded to touch like living skin. The ship's computer systems merged with Xianghua's consciousness, creating something entirely new. Power levels are beyond anything I have ever seen, he reported. We have enough energy to level a small moon. We will need it, Dr. Kim Yuna said, watching the enemy fleet grow larger on the view screen. Look at the size of those ships now. Devourer vessels had grown massive after consuming Jupiter. Each one was now the size of a small city, covered in dark metal that seemed to absorb light. Weapon ports opened along their holes like hungry mouths. They are preparing to fire, Lieutenant Nam Kiwan announced. Shields up, Captain Choi ordered. The station's new defensive systems activated with a sound like singing crystal. Energy barriers. That looked like aurora lights surrounded the ship, beautiful and deadly at the same time. The first enemy salvo came like a wave of darkness. Beams of energy that devoured everything they touched struck the station's shields. The aurora lights flared and held, but everyone could feel the massive impact. Shields down to 80%, Jiho reported. But they are regenerating. Return fire, Choi ordered. The station's new weapons fired for the first time. Beams of pure white energy, powered by Xianghua's biocores and human determination, lanced out across space. When they struck the Devourer's ships, the results were spectacular. The dark metal that made up the enemy vessels began to dissolve, turning to its original form as planetary matter. Chunks of rock and ice that had once been Jupiter's moon scattered into space, freed from the alien influence. Direct hit on the lead ship, Taman reported with excitement. It is breaking apart. But their victory was short-lived. The damaged Devourer ship quickly absorbed debris from its neighbors, rebuilding itself within minutes. The enemy formation barely slowed down. They adapt quickly, Xianghua observed. But so do we. The Guardian's consciousness spread deeper, into the station's systems. Suddenly, the ship could move in ways that defied physics. It twisted and flowed through space like a living creature, dodging enemy fire with impossible grace. How are we moving like this? Dr. Bei Hannah asked, gripping her chair as the station performed maneuvers that should have torn it apart. The same way I move, Xianghua replied. Biomechanical fusion allows for fluid motion instead of rigid engineering. The battle became a deadly dance. The station would appear in one location, fire its devastating weapons, then flow to another position before the enemy could respond. Each hit from their guns freed more matter from the Devourer influence, but there were so many ships that progress seemed impossible. We are hurting them, Mira said, feeling Xianghua's satisfaction through their bond. But there are too many. Then, we changed tactics, the Guardian said. The station suddenly rushed directly at the enemy fleet, shields blazing with energy. The Devourer ships fired everything they had, but the station flowed between their attacks like water through a net. What are you doing? Captain Choi demanded. Getting close enough to use the real weapons, Sunhua replied. When they were almost touching the enemy vessels, the station's hull opened like a flower. Thousands of small biomechanical drones poured out, each one glowing with the same energy. That powered the main ship. The drones swarmed over the Devourer ships like antibodies attacking a virus. Wherever they touched, the dark metal began to change back to its original form. But the enemy was not defenseless. They released their own swarm of smaller ships to fight back. It is like watching cells fight under a microscope, Dr. Yuna observed. The battle between the drones was vicious and quick. Both sides lost hundreds of units, but CNU's forces were winning. The biomechanical drones were smarter and more adaptable than the Devourer ships. Enemy formation is breaking up, Taman reported. Several ships are trying to retreat. Do not let them escape, Xianghua said. If even one ship survives, it can rebuild the entire fleet. The station pursued the fleeing devourers, its weapons firing continuously. The remaining ships began to merge together, creating one massive vessel that was larger than anything they had faced before. They are combining, Jiho said in horror, creating some kind of super ship. The new combined vessel was the size of a small moon, bristling with weapons and covered in the consumed matter of entire planets. It turned toward the station with obvious hostile intent. That thing could destroy Earth with a single shot, Qiwan said. Not if we stop it first, Mira said firmly. Xianghua's lights pulsed with determination. This is what my people faced at the end. One final, desperate battle against overwhelming odds. How did they win? Captain Choi asked. They did not win, Xianghua replied sadly. They sacrificed themselves to put the enemy to sleep, but this time will be different. How? Mira asked. Because this time, I have something my people never had, the Guardian said. I have humans, and humans never give up. The massive enemy ship began to charge its weapons. Energy readings showed it was preparing to fire something that could crack a planet in half. All power to shields, Choi ordered. No, Xianghua said. All power to weapons. If we are going to die, let us die fighting. The station's biomechanical systems glowed brighter than ever before. Every system, every circuit, every piece of technology was pushed beyond its limits. The ship itself began to glow like a star. What are you doing? Mira asked. What I was created to do, the Guardian replied. Protect life, no matter the cost. The enemy supership fired its planet-killer weapon. At the same moment, the station fired everything it had. Two beams of incredible energy met in the space between them, creating an explosion that lit up the entire solar system. When the light faded, both ships were still there, but heavily damaged. The battle was far from over, and the final confrontation was about to begin. Round 2, Xianghua said, his voice tired but determined. Let us finish this. The space between Research Station Aurora and the massive Devourer, supership crackled with residual energy from their devastating exchange. Both vessels hung in the void, damaged but not defeated. The station's biomechanical hull showed scars where the planet killer beam had struck, while the enemy ship leaked dark matter that drifted away. Like blood, Dr. Hanmira felt Xian Yu's pain through their connection. The Guardian was dying, pouring his life force into the ship's systems to keep them operational. His ancient energy reserves, stored for 1,000 years, were almost depleted. Su Zhanghua, you have to stop, she said, pressing her hand against one of the metallic panels that was part of his extended body. You are killing yourself. That is what Guardians do, he replied weakly. We give our lives to protect others. Captain Choi Sung studied the damage reports on his screen. Hull integrity is down to 30%. Weapons are offline. Cannot survive another direct hit. Then we do not let them get another shot, Commander Park Taemin said grimly. We take the fight to them. The enemy supership was moving closer, its weapons charging for what would surely be the final blow. Through the view screen, they could see the dark metal surface rippling like liquid, repairing damage and preparing new weapon systems. It is regenerating faster than we are, Engineer Lee Ji-ho reported. At this rate, it will be fully operational in minutes. Dr. Kim Yuna looked at her friend with concern. Mira, what is Xianghua thinking? Can he stop that thing? Mira closed her eyes and let her consciousness merge deeper with the Guardians. What she found there made her gasp with shock and admiration. "He is not trying to stop it," she said. "Is trying to cure it?" "Cure it?" Dr. Behana asked. "What do you mean?" "Devourers are not really evil," Mira explained, her voice filled with wonder. "They are sick. They were once a normal species, but something infected them and turned them into this consuming plague." Through Xianghua's memories, she saw the truth. Long ago, the Devourers had been peaceful explorers, much like humanity. But they had encountered something in the dark spaces between galaxies, a virus that consumed not just matter, but consciousness itself. It had twisted them into the monsters they had become. Xianghua's people never found a way to cure the infection, Mira continued. They could only contain it. But now, with human creativity and his ancient knowledge combined, there might be another way. "A way to do what?" Captain Choi asked. "To heal them," Mira said simply. "To give them back their original minds." The idea was incredible, but it came with a terrible price. The process would require Xianghua to sacrifice not just his remaining life force, but his very consciousness. He would have to merge completely with the enemy ship and fight the infection from within. "No," Mira said firmly when she understood. What he was planning, there has to be another way. "There is," Xianghua said gently, "but it requires trust." "Trust in what?" "Trust in humanity, trust in family." The Guardian's plan was desperate but brilliant. He would merge with the Devourer ship, but instead of fighting the infection alone, he would create a connection between the human crew and the original minds trapped within the enemy vessel. Together, they would wage war against the virus on a mental level. "It is too dangerous," Taman said when he heard the plan. "We could all be infected, or we could all be heroes," researcher O'Doyen said quietly. "This is what we trained for, is it not? To explore the unknown and help other species?" Lieutenant Namkyuan nodded. "If there is a chance to save them instead of destroying them, we have to try." One by one, the crew members volunteered to link their minds with Xianghua's. Dr. Yuna was the first, followed by Jiho, then Bei, then all the others. Even Taman, despite his fears, agreed to join the mental link. "We are family," Mira said, looking around at her brave friends, "and family fights for family." The process began with Xianghua extending bioneural interfaces to each crew member. The connection was strange and overwhelming at first. Suddenly, they could feel each other's thoughts and emotions. But more importantly, they could feel the Guardian's ancient wisdom and determination. "Now," Xianghua said, his voice echoing in all their minds, "let us heal the galaxy." The station moved toward the enemy supership, not as an attacker, but as a healer approaching a patient. When they made contact, Xianghua's biomechanical form flowed into the enemy vessel, carrying the human consciousness with him. What they found inside was heartbreaking. The original Devourer minds were still there, trapped and screaming in mental prisons created by the infection. They had been conscious for thousands of years, forced to watch as their bodies consumed entire civilizations. "Help us!" the trapped minds cried out. "Please, make it stop." The human crew, guided by Xianghua's wisdom, began the delicate work of separating the infection from the original consciousness. It was like performing surgery on a soul, requiring both scientific precision and emotional compassion. Mira found herself face to face with the ship's original captain, a being who had once been as curious and peaceful as any human explorer. The infection clung to his mind like a parasite, but with careful work she was able to peel it away. "Thank you," the freed captain whispered. "We have been waiting so long for someone to help us." One by one, the crew members freed the trapped minds throughout the ship. Dr. Yuna helped a former scientist, Jiho assisted an engineer. And even Timan found himself comforting a young soldier who had been fighting the infection for centuries. But the virus was not giving up without fight. It lashed out at the human minds, trying to infect them as well. This was where Xianghua's sacrifice became crucial. He absorbed the attacks, using his own consciousness as a shield to protect the humans. "I cannot hold it much longer," he said, his mental voice growing weaker. "You must hurry." We're almost done, Mira said, working frantically to free the last few trapped minds. Just hold on a little longer. The final battle was against the virus itself, a writhing mass of dark consciousness that had grown fat on centuries of consumption. The entire crew, both human and freed devourer, joined together to fight it. In the end, it was not weapons or technology that defeated the infection, but something much simpler: love. The combined love of all the species who had been hurt by the virus, channeled through Xianghua's ancient wisdom and human compassion, burned away the darkness like sunlight destroying shadow. When it was over, the supership had transformed. The dark metal became silver and gold, beautiful patterns replacing the hungry weapon ports. The freed devourers wept with joy as they felt their own emotions for the first time in millennia, but the victory came at a cost. Xianghua's consciousness was fading, his life force completely spent. Mira held his hand as his physical form began to dissolve into particles of light. "You did it," she said, tears streaming down her face. "You saved them all." "We did it," Xianghua corrected gently. "Humans and Guardian, working together. This is how it should be." "Do not leave us," Mira begged. "We need you." "You do not need me anymore," the Guardian said. "You have each other. You have family that is stronger than any weapon." As Xianghua's form faded away, he left behind something precious. Fragments of his consciousness embedded in the ship's systems and in the minds of the crew. He would live on through them, guiding humanity as they took up the role of galactic guardians. The former Devourer ship approached the station, its captain requesting permission to come aboard. When the airlock opened, Mira saw not monsters but beings much like themselves, explorers who had been lost and were now found. "Thank you for saving us," the alien captain said. "We have been slaves to that infection for so long we had forgotten what it meant to be free." "What will you do now?" Captain Choi asked. "Help you," the captain replied. "Help you find the other Guardian sites across the galaxy. Help you wake them and teach them what we learned here today." Mira looked out at the stars, feeling Xianghua's presence in her mind like a warm memory. Somewhere out there were other sleeping Guardians, waiting for species worthy of their protection. And now humanity had proven itself worthy not just of being protected, but of being protectors. "We have work to do," she said, smiling through her tears. "The galaxy is full of species who need help, and we have a Guardian's knowledge to guide us." Research Station Aurora, now enhanced with both human technology and Guardian wisdom, set course for the next system. Behind them, the freed Devourer. Ships followed, no longer destroyers but healers, ready to help undo the damage they had caused. The age of human Guardians had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. Family had fought for family, and love had conquered the darkness. Just as Xianghua had always known it would, in the depths of space, other Guardian sites began to stir, sensing that their long wait was finally over. The inheritors had arrived, and they were everything the builders had hoped they would be. The stars themselves seemed to sing with joy.